Farm Bureau. Jon Machota joins us right now, covers the Dallas Cowboys for The Athletic. I don't know if you know this or not, John, but the Cowboys have a football game tonight. Are people excited about the Hall of Fame game?
I don't know why they would be. I really don't know why they would be. But, no, I mean, it's football, though. And it's, if you're a Cowboys fan, it gives you a chance to see some of these younger guys that are going to have probably a few of these guys are going to have a key role this year, particularly on defense. So it's not real football. So, I don't think anybody should get too excited, like as if Dak Prescott was starting or, CD Lamb or some of these other key pieces on the Cowboys. But it gets you back to some type of football, and it kind of gets you ready and cues you into the fact that, hey, we're not that far away from regular season when these games count. So that part's exciting, but, yeah, it would be a lot better if Dak and some of these other guys were playing.
So what do we know about Dak and his health right now?
Yeah, it's tough with the Cowboys because if you take them at their word, there's been times in the past where, they've been cautious about things, and then all of a sudden, like, for example, last year with Lyle Collins, it was like one of these things where it's like, yeah, he's just going to work off to the side, but he should be fine. And then all of a sudden he's having, surgery on his hip. And so, there's always going to be those cases. I just don't get the sense from this latest Dak arm strain that it's anything serious. It's one of those deals where they started training camp a week earlier than other teams because they're playing in tonight's Hall of Fame game. And so, hey, he felt it tighten up a little bit. Let's just be as careful as possible with this. If this was the regular season, he'd be still going through practice and he'd be playing in the game. There'd be no doubt about it. But it's one of those deals where let's not make this thing, if he goes back to just practicing like he has been at the start of camp, maybe it gets worse. And then all of a sudden it kind of balloons into something way bigger. And then you're missing games during the season because he has to rest and things like that. I don't see it being that case. I think he's being super cautious, just being at practice when it happened, and the way it wasn't like you saw any grimace on his face or all of a sudden like grabbed his arm like you'll see with, maybe like a major league pitcher where they grab their arm or the elbow or something. You're like, oh, that doesn't look good. It was one of those things where he was just throwing some routes and he just went to one of the athletic trainers that were standing by, and you could see that like he started like kind of looking at his shoulder, but Dak was still moving his arm, and like I said, he wasn't wincing or wasn't any like serious pain, but it was one of those things like, hey, let's be cautious, let's get an X-ray and see where it's at. So I don't anticipate this being something that all of a sudden gets worse and he can't play in games. I think the worst case scenario is that maybe it creeps back up a little bit, and it might be something he has to manage throughout the season where he has to play through it. But I don't think this is something that's going to lead to him all of a sudden missing games or anything like that.
So two things kind of related. Number one, you think about the life cycle of a season, the calendar. Because Dak didn't throw as long and was going through rehab and probably had some downtime, could it just be his arm hasn't been used as much as it normally would be in off-season preparation, and maybe that was a function of the soreness? And then the second part of that, and forgive, I know you're not supposed to ask two questions at the same time, is there anything to, and you kind of went down the baseball analogy road, sometimes you hear that dreaded arm stiffness or soreness thing, and it turns into something bigger. Is there any concern, or is it altogether different in your mind from baseball pitcher arm soreness?
Yeah, from what I gather, it's different from the baseball pitcher arm soreness. Like I said, when it happened, when he pulled back on doing some drills, he was throwing some short to intermediate stuff. I think it was more on like the long balls where he kind of felt it tighten up a little bit, and it was like, okay, let's shut this thing down and make sure that everything's good here. And the other part of it too is kind of protecting him against himself because of the fact that he goes extremely hard on every drill that he does. So like even in these last 4 practices where he hasn't been throwing, he still gets in on individual drills when they're with the running backs and things like that. And then when they get into the team drills, he goes to the other end of the field and he's working with the athletic trainers on the resistance work. He didn't know who Dak Prescott was, and you just showed up to one of these practices, you'd think like, whoa, why is this guy going so hard right now, like in the middle of practice? And he's trying to like get right, make sure he gets in the same exact shape he would be as if he was taking all the practice reps. And just like, you don't see that from every guy, and you certainly don't see that from every quarterback. I mean, quarterbacks a lot of times are like pitchers where it's more like, let's just rest this arm. I'm going to get some throws into stuff like that. They're not necessarily the guys that are killing it in the weight room, especially during the season, and running a bunch of gassers. I mean, that's just not the general, like, everyday NFL quarterback doing it. But he's a little bit different in that respect. And, that's why he's also the face of this team, and he's the clear-cut, no doubt about it, leader of this team. So from that aspect, I think they're kind of protecting him from himself because they know as soon as he gets back out there, he's going to want to throw like he normally does all the time instead of easing back in.
John, given the facility that the Cowboys have for training and practice and whatnot there at the Star, why do they still go to Oxnard? Uh-oh. Did we lose John?
I'll call him right back.
We may have to try and reconnect with Jon Machota. I thought that was kind of like a choppy end to that last answer. He just
it felt like he just said, "You know what? I've said enough."
Yeah, maybe so. So we'll try again with Jon Machota from The Athletic, covering the Dallas Cowboys. Some interesting stuff. And I mean, that's obviously the number one storyline related to the Cowboys. It's Dak Prescott, the health of Dak Prescott. Will he be ready to go opening day? Is he going to be able to practice leading into the season? All of those questions abound for this Cowboys team. You want to be part of the conversation? Got a question about the Cowboys? Hit us up. C-Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. Tyler in Starkville says, we all know that Dak's shoulder is sore from ringing his cowbell after watching the Dogs in the College World Series.
Win the national championship is what you meant to say there.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Was he there for the game where they won it all?
Yes, yeah. Came in the locker room after, so he'll be on the board.
That's right.
Mention.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. I love this message as well. Listening on the SuperTalk app, which, by the way, is free and you can get in the App Store or at Google Play, while driving through the Badlands of South Dakota.
That's cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
Nice. We talked about how great the weather was here. Guessing it's pretty good there as well.
Probably a good 15 degrees cooler if I had to guess.
You would think? Seems reasonable. Certainly seems reasonable. The beauty of technology, by the way.
But I have a device right here.
Hey, what do you think? What do you think another storyline beyond Dak is that is interesting for the Cowboys?
It's just sort of like an overall team storyline, right? That's a weak division. Washington, not great. New York, not great. Philadelphia, not great. And it feels like on paper the Cowboys are the best team, but are they going to be the best team? Maybe John can tell us. I don't know. But it feels like that team should be really, really good, but they weren't last year after Dak went down. I mean, they had no signs of life. So what will they have this year?
Yeah, but it wasn't entirely, though, about the play of quarterback because they were still, especially late in the year, productive offensively. I think we've got John back, maybe gotten the kinks worked out. John, I was asking when I thought you were still on the line, given the facility, the practice facility that the Cowboys have there at the Star, why do they still go to Oxnard?
Well, I mean, I just got back last night, and the best way I can sum it up is that you get so spoiled out in California because it's about 70, 75 every single day. Perfect weather, not a cloud in the sky, grass fields. Just the ideal training camp football weather. I get back, my flight lands at about 11:30 last night in Dallas, and as soon as I get out of the airport, it's like 90 here in the middle of the night. So it's the weather is the biggest thing, and then the other part of it is that Jerry Jones knows that there's a huge Cowboys fan base out in California, and so this kind of gives them a chance to kind of he loves the fact that they're America's team, or that at least they have that moniker, America's team, and so he tries to spread it out. All to more parts than just in this DFW area. But it makes me wonder, though, because it is very Jerry-driven, if they'll continue to do that when, let's say, Stephen Jones and Charlotte Jones are running the team. I think they will because it is perfect weather conditions for training camp, but you never know because everything at the Star keeps growing to the point where it will not surprise me if in the next few years they have the combine at the Star because everything's there. I mean, everything from accommodations for fans to the medical facilities to everything state of the art. But the only thing it's missing is that in this time of year, I mean, it's 9,500 degrees outside.
There's that. John, we are out of time. I hope that we can catch up soon and maybe hit on some of the other storylines that are not named Dak. In terms of this Cowboy team. Always good to visit with you.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Sorry I cut out there.
It's all right, man. It happens. It absolutely happens. That's Jon Machota from The Athletic.